Okay, hey guys, I thought we'd do a little read aloud on this snow day. So, as a reminder, Lina found the instructions and she glued them all down. Yesterday, we actually made some inferences. We didn't talk about it then, we talked about inferences later, but we made some inferences using our schema and the text evidence to figure something out the author hasn't told us. As we read, remember, Lina put all the pieces down, glued them down, and then she had the plan to go tell Captain Fleury. Okay? That's where we're at. And I'm going to start down here when the lights went on in the morning. When the lights went on in the morning, she had a few minutes before Poppy wakened to work at the puzzle. But there were so many words missing. How could she ever make sense of such a jumble? As she pulled on her red jacket and tied the frayed and knotted laces of her shoes, she thought about it. If the paper was important, she shouldn't keep it to herself. But who could she tell? Maybe the messenger captain. She would know about things like official documents. Captain Fleury, Lina said when she got to work, would you have time to come home with me later on today? Just for a minute. I found something I'd like to show you. Found what? Asked Captain Fleury. Some paper with writing on it. I think it might be important. Captain Fleury raised her skinny eyebrows. What do you mean, important? Well, I'm not sure. Maybe it isn't. But would you look at it anyway? So that evening, Captain Fleury came home with Lina and peered at the bits of paper. She bent down and inspected the writing. Fall, she said. Ax, rem, aunt. What kind of words are these? I don't know, said Lina. The words are all broken up because Poppy chewed on them. I see, said Captain Fleury. She poked at the paper. This looks like instructions for something, she said. A recipe, I suppose? Small steel pan. That would be what you use to cook with. But who would have such perfect writing? That's the way they wrote in the old days, said Captain Fleury. It could be a very old recipe. But then why would it have been kept in this beautiful box? She showed the box to Captain Fleury. I think it was locked up in here for some reason, and you wouldn't lock up something unless it was important. But Captain Fleury didn't seem to have heard her. Or, she said, it could be a school exercise, someone's homework they never turned in. But have you ever seen paper like this? Doesn't it look as if it came from someplace else? Not here? Captain Fleury straightened up. A look of puzzlement came over her face. There is nowhere but here, she said. She put both hands on Lina's shoulders. You, my dear, are letting your imagination run away with you. Are you overtired, Lina? Are you anxious? I could put you on short days for a while. No, said Lina. I'm fine, I am, but I don't know what to do about... She gestured toward the paper. Oh, never mind, said Captain Fleury. Don't think about it. Throw it away. You're worrying too much. I know, we all are. There's so much to worry about, but we mustn't let it unsettle us. She gave Lina a long look. Her eyes were the color of dishwater. Help is coming, she said. Help? Yes, coming to save us. Who is? Captain Fleury bent down and lowered her voice as if telling a secret. Who built our dear city? Who built our city, dear? The builders, said Lina. That's right, and the builders will come again and show us the way. They will? Very soon, said Captain Fleury. How do you know? Captain Fleury straightened up and clapped a hand over her heart. I know it in here, she said, and I've seen it in a dream. So have all of us, all the believers. So that's what they believe, Lina thought, and Captain Fleury is one of them. She wondered how the captain could feel so sure about it, just because she'd seen it in a dream. Maybe it was the same as her sparkling city was for Lina. She wanted it to be true. The captain's face lit up. I know what we must do, dear. I know what you must do, dears. Come to one of our meetings. It will lift your heart. We sing. Oh, said Lina. Thank you, but I'm not sure maybe sometime. She tried to be polite, but she knew she wouldn't go. She didn't want to stand around waiting for the builders. She had other things to do. Captain Fleary patted her arm. No pressure, dear, she said. If you change your mind, let me know. But take my advice. Forget about your little puzzle project. Lie down and take a nap. Clears the mind. Her narrow face beamed kindness down at Lina. You take tomorrow off, she said. She raised a hand goodbye and went down the stairs. Lina took advantage of her day off to go to the supply depot to see Lizzie Biscoe. We know that's her best friend, right? Lizzie was quick and smart. She might have some good ideas. At the supply depot, crowds of shopkeepers stood. So we're at a new setting. Do you see what the author did there for us? First, the author did a page break to show a change in time setting and now place. So we were at Lina's house and now we're going to the supply depot. At the supply depot, crowds of shopkeepers stood in long, disorderly lines that stretched out the door. They pushed and jostled and snapped impatiently at each other. Lina joined them, but they seemed so frantic that they frightened her a little. They must be very sure now that the supplies are running out, she thought, and they're determined to get what they can before it's too late. When she got close to the head of the line, she heard the same conversation several times. Sorry, the clerk would say when a shopkeeper asked for 10 packets of sewing needles or a dozen drinking glasses or 20 packages of light bulbs. There's a severe shortage of that item. You can only have one. Or else, the clerk would say, sorry, we're out of that entirely. Forever? Forever. Lina knew that it hadn't always been this way. When Ember was a young city, the storerooms were full. They held everything the citizens could want. So much it seemed the supplies would never run out. Lina's grandmother had told her the school children were given a tour of the storerooms as part of their education. I'm going to stop right here. Isn't that crazy? This is something that the graphic novel told us when Lina found the box in the closet. This was in the scene with the box in the closet, but now it's in a different scene. And I see the word pineapple over here. Remember, it was peaches in the graphic novel, and here it's pineapple. We'll have to see if they even include this part after this. I'm right here. See on the T. They were going as part of she was thinking back. They took an elevator from the street level to a long curving tunnel with doors on both sides and other tunnels branching off it. The guide led the tour down the long passage, opening one door after another. This area, he would say, is canned goods. Next, we come to school supplies. And around this bin, we have kitchenware. Next, come carpentry tools. At each door, the children crowded against each other to see. Every room had something different, Granny told Lina. Boxes of toothpaste in one room, bottles of cooking oil, bars of soap, boxes of pills. There were 20 rooms just for vitamin pills. One room was stacked with hundreds of cans of fruit. There was something called pineapple. I especially remember that one. What is pineapple? Asked Lina. It was yellow and sweet, said Granny with a dreamy look in her eyes. I had it 4 times before we ran out of it. So it was rare when Granny was there. So we know the city's pretty old. But those tours had discontinued long before Lina was born. The storerooms, people said, were no longer a pleasure to look at. Their dusty shelves stood mostly empty now. It was rumored that in some rooms, nothing was left at all. A child seeing the rooms where powdered milk had been stored. Oh, that's weird. Powdered milk? We get milk from cows. Have you noticed there's no cows? Huh. or the rooms that store bandages or socks or pins or notebooks, or most of all, the dozens of rooms that had once held thousands of light bulbs. These rooms would not feel, as earlier generations of children had, that Ember was endlessly rich. Today's children, if they were to tour the storerooms, would feel afraid. Thinking about all of this, Lina waited in the line of people at Lizzie's station. When she got to the front, she leaned forward with her elbows to the counter and whispered, "Lizzie, can you meet me after you're through with work? I'll wait for you right outside the door." And Lizzie nodded eagerly. At 4 o'clock, Lizzie came trotting out the office door. Lina said to her, "Will you come home with me for a minute? I want to show you something." "Sure," said Lizzie. As they walked, Lizzie talked. We know Lizzie likes to talk. "My wrist is killing me from writing all day," she said. "You have to write in the tiniest letters to save paper. So I get a terrible cramp in my wrist and my fingers. And people are so rude. Today, they were worse than ever. I said to some guy, 'You can't have 15 cans of corn. You can only have 3. And he said, 'Look, don't tell me Don't tell me that. I saw plenty of cans in the Pot Street Market just yesterday.' And I said, 'Well, that's why there aren't so many left today.' And he said, 'Don't be smart with me, carrot head.' But what am I supposed to do? I can't make cans of corn out of thin air." They passed through Harkin Square, around the gathering hall, and down Roving Street, where 3 of the floodlights were out, making a cave of a shadow. "Lizzie," said Lina, interrupting the flow of talk, "is it true about light bulbs?" "Is what true?" "That there aren't any left?" "I don't know," Lizzie shrugged. "They hardly ever let us go downstairs into the storerooms. All we see are the reports the carriers turn in. How many forks in room 1146? How many doorknobs in 3291? How many children's shoes in 2249? But when you see the report for the light bulbs room, what does it say?" "I never get to see that one," said Lizzie. "That one and a few others. Ones like the vitamin report, only a few people can see." "Who?" "Oh, the mayor. And, of course, old Flab Face." Lina looked at her questioningly. "You know, Farlow Batten, the head of the storerooms. He is so mean. Lina, you would just hate him. He counts us late if we could come in even 2 minutes after 8. And he looks over our shoulders as we're writing, which is awful because he has bad breath. And he runs his fingers over what we've written and says, 'This word is illegible. That word is illegible. These numbers are illegible.' It's his favorite word, illegible. Illegible means you can't read it." When they came to Lina Street, Lina ducked her head in the door of the yarn shop and said hello to Granny, and then they climbed the stairs to the apartment. Lizzie was talking about how hard it was to stand up all day, how it made her knees ache, how her shoes pinched her feet. She stopped talking long enough to say hello to Eveline Murdo, Mrs. Murdo, who was sitting by the window with Poppy on her lap, and then she began again as Lina led her into the bedroom. Lina, where were you when the big blackout came?" she asked. But she went right on without waiting for an answer. "I was at home, luckily, but it was scary, wasn't it?" Lina nodded. She didn't want to talk about what happened that day. "I hate those blackouts," Lizzie went on. "People say there are going to be more and more of them, and then someday—" She stopped, frowned, and started again. "Anyway, nothing bad happened to me. After that, I got up and figured out a whole new way to do my hair." It seemed to Lina that Lizzie was like a clock wound too tightly and running too fast. She'd always been a little this way, but today she was even more so than ever. Her gaze skipped from one spot to another. Her fingers twiddled with the edge of her shirt. She looked paler than usual, too. Her freckles stood out like little smudges of dirt on her nose. My time is about to run out, so that's where we're going to stop today.